We bring on the director of athletics at Syracuse University, John Wildhack, joining the show. Always great to chat with you, John. How are you today?
I'm well, Stephen, Paulie. How are you guys?
We're doing great. And we're talking about an SU basketball win, and this team they keep it exciting, don't they? I mean, they beat Carolina, lose to Georgia Tech, bounce back last night against NC State. Just curious to get your thoughts on this team and this season, year one under Adrian Autry.
It's last night was a really, really good win, and when we all went to bed, I think it was a quad one win. I don't know if it still is when we woke up this morning, because if somebody can explain that to me, please do. It makes no sense, but really good road win. I think what this team is, and you saw it with Carolina too, and you saw it last night, is when this team can get in an offensive rhythm and make shots. We can play, and we can play with really, really good teams. And NC State's a really good team, and obviously Carolina, is among the elite teams in the country. When we don't make shots, which we didn't do against Georgia Tech, and we had good looks, we just didn't make them. Then you're going to struggle. And I think that's been, to some degree, the story of our season. There's been ups and downs throughout the season, and clearly we don't have the depth that we started the season with, and we thought that was going to be a real strength of this team. And now we're pretty shorthanded in terms of what we have. But last night was a really good win. Notre Dame on Saturday, Virginia Tech on Tuesday, who absolutely took Virginia to the woodshed Monday night. And then at Clemson, which is going to be a really, really tough game. And we've got 4 left, and we need to win. And if we do win, we'll put ourselves in the conversation.
John, as an AD in the ACC, how does the ACC improve its perception of basketball, which sounds like a crazy thing to say? We've been talking, Syracuse could finish 4th. Any of these middle league teams could finish 4th in the ACC tournament and maybe be very close to not being on the bubble. How does the ACC fix that?
Yeah, it's a good question, Paulie, and it's one that's frustrating for the conference and frustrating for the ADs, because this conference is really, really good. It's really deep. There aren't any bad teams. You can't, there are no games you look at in this conference and say, oh, that's an easy win. That's an easy win. There's a lot of good players. There's a lot of good teams. I don't think we're getting the respect nationally that we deserve. The fact now that we beat up on each other doesn't help us with the net at all, right? It helps one team, it hurts the other team. Our non-conference record was really good. You compare our non-conference record, against similar competition to the Big 12, who, I think, you see projections where they get 8 or 9 in. It's favorable to that. If you look at the data points, I think right now, the ACC is vastly underrated. And, I love my good buddy Joe Lenardi, but I think Joe needs to go back and do a little more homework.
You brought up the fact that we thought this team was going to have a lot of depth, and then between injuries and a dismissal and so on and so forth, now they're shorthanded. You look at the adversity that they've faced, in recent weeks. Paulie brought up this stat the other day. 4 coaches, right, Paulie, in the history of the ACC, 4 first-year coaches have won 20 games. 3 of them were at North Carolina. I do think that this coaching staff deserves a lot of credit for what they've been through this year and the position this team is in. Wanted to get your thoughts on the job that Adrian Autry and his staff have done here in year one, because it's not an easy thing following a legend, and we're going to talk about Jim Boeheim here in a moment. But how do you think he's done, throughout almost his entire first year here?
I think Adrian and the staff have done a really good job, considering the hand that we've been dealt with, and it's. To take over for a legend is incredibly, incredibly challenging. And, we play a different style, right? The majority of the time this year in terms of, man-to-man, et cetera, that type of thing, kind of spacing out the offense more. So it's more than just a change in leadership. It's a little bit change in philosophy. I think for the first year, I think they've done a really good job. You see the growth of some of our guys over the course of the season, right? You see, Chris Bell become more consistent. He's a great shooter. but he's becoming consistently better offensively, which you need. You see the development of J.J. Starling from where he was in November to where he is now. Judah in listen, Judah is fearless. He's an incredible competitor. He's made a lot of winning plays this season, a lot of winning plays. You look at Quadir, how he's grown last night, and some of the things that that he's done over the course of the season. So when you see guys, when they grow and their games get better as the year progresses, and I think that's a reflection on the coaching staff, and it's still a really young team. Malik, you look at Malik Brown last year to this year, you see how he's grown. He should be a first team all ACC defensive player. There's no question in my mind. And he deserves the credit. And I hope he receives it. So it's still a really, really young team. Again, we're short with numbers, but I think overall, Adrian and the staff to date, they've done a really good job. We've got 4 more opportunities plus the ACC tournament. And we just got to go win as many games as we can.
John, you may not know this, but we're on a sports talk radio, and we take a lot of negative calls. And this team is not out of it yet, but they may not make the tournament again. What is your expectation for the Adrian Autry era in basketball?
Yeah, I think the goal every year, we want to be in the tournament. And if you make the tournament, then you have the opportunity to do some damage and progress through the tournament. And that's always going to be the goal here. And when you don't make it, it's frustrating. And again, I think to your point, Paul, the ACC and just the number of bubble teams. I mean, it's the quality of play overall college basketball, I think is there's more parity, but there's also there's more better players than there was even 10 years ago. So I think it makes it harder to win. It makes it harder to win consistently, but that's what we need to get back to.
All right, let's look ahead now to Saturday, and it's not just a home game. It's not just Notre Dame in town. It is Jim Boeheim Day inside the Dome. John, it's something that I know the university and the athletic department has been looking forward to, and this community has been looking forward to, since Coach Boeheim decided to step down and kind of change his role. What can fans expect? What's going to be done, on Saturday to honor, the legendary head coach?
Steve, it'll be a special and memorable day for our fans, and I really, part of this is a chance for our fan base in Central New York to thank Coach Boeheim, and we'll have a number of elements throughout the game, that recaps his brilliant career. We've got over 50 former players, managers, assistant coaches who are coming back, which speaks volumes in terms of the impact that Coach Boeheim had on their lives and the respect that they have for Coach Boeheim. Post game, we've got a number of special presentations, and I would say I think it's going to be a really memorable afternoon, and I would encourage all our fans to come out to salute Coach Boeheim and to be part of. I think is something that those who are in attendance on Saturday, they're going to be talking about it for years to come. I think it'll be very special.
And from what I understand, John, there's also an event at Drumlin's as well, right? Honoring Coach Boeheim, a dinner with the Hall of Famer.
Right. Well, there'll be a dinner at Drumlin's on Saturday night. Mike Tirico is going to be the MC of the post-game ceremony. He'll be the MC at the banquet at Drumlin's as well. And again, it's just it's a great opportunity to say thank you to Coach Boeheim. It's awesome to see the number of players come back. We've got video tributes from some of his competitors and peers. So I think it'll be an enjoyable and special and memorable day for our fans.
How has Jim been during the planning process of this? Because he's a guy that he doesn't really love to be in the spotlight like that, right? I mean, I know he probably prefers that this not happen, but the university has to honor him and should honor him. How has he been during this process? What are his thoughts, I guess, on this big day?
I had one conversation with him on this. I said, we're doing this and we're going to honor you, and he's like okay. So Tori Ball, who's our deputy AD, of marketing. That Tori's been in touch with Julie on a pretty consistent basis. So we've had conversations with the most and input from the most important member of the Boeheim family, Julie.
I was going to say that sounds about right. And if he said no to you, he certainly wouldn't have said no to Julie. So.
Correct.
John, your former job, you were, a bigwig at ESPN and handled talent. What have you thought of Jim Boeheim's work as an ACC network guy?
I think he's done a really good job, and I think he, Wes Durham, and Corey Alexander, they're a really good listen. They're entertaining. They play off each other really well. Obviously the basketball knowledge, that Coach has, that Corey has, Wes, his history with the ACC, they're a really good listen. And he's done well in the studio as well. My personal opinion, if I was back at ESPN, I'd have him focus on games. I think he's really good. Those three, I like that trio. I think they're really good.
We can't have you on without talking about the women's team, John. And, we're talking about just a couple home games left for the men. There's a couple home games left for the women as well. They've got Duke coming up tomorrow, and then a home game this Sunday as well, which will be senior day for Deasia Fair. And, everything she's meant to the program, this record that they've got right now, they're just on the outside of the top 16 looking in. So it is possible they could get a couple more home games in the NCAA tournament. Your thoughts on Deasia and really what Coach Jack has been able to do with this program in such a short period of time?
Deasia is a phenomenal player. And again, I encourage our fans, if you're a fan of basketball, come to the game Thursday. And I really hope people show out on Sunday to salute Deasia and her fellow seniors for what they've done here for this program. She's averaging almost 9 points in the fourth quarter this year. That'd be 36 points per game.
Yeah.
The number of clutch shots, she has the clutch, and I tweeted this after the game against Virginia. She has hit so many big time shots. She has done things that very few basketball players at Syracuse have done in recent time. Not just women, basketball players, men and women. She is absolutely incredible to watch. So again, I hope fans come out and salute her teammates as well. Coach Jack, what Felicia's done in 2 years, again, is she had a really solid first year, built on that this year. You look at our record, the ACC is the best conference in the country. We've got a really good shot at a double bye for the ACC tournament. We got a really good chance to be a top 4 seed, and that would give us the potential of 2 home games in the tournament. So it's a terrific year. Coach Jack's done a great job, but she'd be the first one to tell you when you have a player like Deasia, she is absolutely one of the elite players in the country. She will surpass either tomorrow or Sunday Brittany Griner for 5th place.
It's pretty good.
All-time scoring record for women's basketball. Okay, Brittany Griner. How
It's
good
remarkable.
is Deasia Fair? That says it all.
Yeah. It is remarkable.
All right, John. Also, football, the signing period's over. You hired Fran Brown. A lot of people were scratching your head at who's this Fran Brown guy. And it appears Steve likes to use the term winning the offseason. He's clearly won the offseason for you.
He's done a really good job. I like the staff that he's assembled. The winter workouts that we're doing now, the conditioning program. It's this team is they're getting bigger. We've got bigger bodies in here with some of the guys that we got out of the transfer portal. It's been a really good offseason to date, but as Coach Fran said the other day, you know what? Let's not look ahead. Let's focus on, what can we accomplish, the next 8 days in February? What can we do in March as we prepare to start spring football practice? How do we make spring practice really competitive and really successful to continue to build this team? But what Coach Fran and what his staff have done to date, very, very impressed and very pleased with. And it's just the other thing I should say is just how he is connected and how this team is connected with the community and the community service that they do on a weekly basis. That is genuine. Coach Fran wants to be connected with this community, and he is connecting himself with this community. And when you meet him, you will understand how genuine and authentic a person he really is.
You know, in case people don't know, could you maybe one more time explain how did Fran Brown end up on your radar? You know, and what was the process like going through? We can understand how he'd be a good interview at this point, but you know, like how did he end up on your radar?
He was on the list of people who we were considering. I talked to some people who gave very, very strong and detailed recommendations of Coach Fran. I was going to call Coach Fran. I mean, literally in about an hour before I called him, he reached out to me. We had an introductory conversation that led over the next 48 hours, I think, to probably a half a dozen phone conversations or Zoom conversations between he and me, including one on Thanksgiving night that went for 90 minutes. And then we met with him, that's Thanksgiving Sunday in Atlanta, in person, the search committee. And we were just what impressed me so much was just his vision for all aspects of the program, Paulie, just not the competitive aspect, right? But the academic aspect, how we're growing our young men, how we're supporting our young men, internships, career development, graduation, academic plans. And what really sealed it for me is I talked to Kirby Smart for about 20 minutes the morning after Thanksgiving, and then I talked to Matt Rule a couple days later because he'd worked for Matt for a number of years at Baylor and at Temple. And when they took over Temple was terrible, and they made Temple really good, a top 25 team. And just the input from coaches Smart and Rule was instrumental in helping me make the decision.
Yeah, he certainly won me over in a short period of time, Paulie. I've talked to him twice, and I can see why he got the job, John. He's doing a great job in a really a short period of time. He's got a lot of people excited. It is an exciting time up on the SU Hill. Again, Jim Boeheim Day Saturday, the women's team at home Thursday and Sunday. We pulled you out of a lacrosse game here. SU men up 11-3 on Utah in the third quarter. We should mention that. SU men's and women's lacrosse both in the top 10, and of course football. A lot of excitement around the program, and Fran Brown in the spring game coming up in April. Anything we didn't touch on, John? Anything else you want to mention before we let you go today?
No, I appreciate the time, Steve and Paulie. And again, I really encourage our fans to come out and support and honor Coach Boeheim on Saturday, and come out and honor and support DeAsia Fair, our women's basketball team, and Coach Jack on Sunday. It can be a really, really cool weekend. I think you want to be a part of it. Go Orange.
We'll see you inside the Dome. SU's Director of Athletics, John Wildhack, will take a time out. We're back after this on ESPN Radio.